Hello, welcome back. Let's delve into the idea of your identity with a capital I, of course, today. And we're doing so in the context of the next section of the text of A Course in Miracles, chapter 9, section 4, the Holy Spirit's plan of forgiveness. So this is very, very interesting, and there is a lot for us to understand and unpack here. On the surface, really, there's not a lot for us to understand and unpack because it's very, very simple. There is no separation of any kind. You've heard that here before. Something tells me you're going to hear it again many times over the next 15 to 20 minutes. So let's all be prepared for that. There is no separation ever, ever, ever. It is impossible. So the Holy Spirit's plan for forgiveness shows us this, and it shows us this not just by telling us that it is so. It's not like we just read it in a book. Nothing wrong with reading it in a book. And if you're studying this course, yes, by all means, read it. It helps a lot. One of the beautiful things about the time frame that we appear to inhabit, emphasis on appear to inhabit, that is deliberately placed, we have access to a number of different materials and many different media, which we could use to our benefit and the benefit of every living thing as we learn to forgive under the guidance of our inner teacher. We have access to print materials, actual physical books. We have access to the course and multiple erudite commentaries, very helpful commentaries online. We have access to videos about A Course in Miracles like this one that you're watching. So there are a lot of ways that we can get the information. However, where the action lies is not in watching a video. It's not in reading the text or the workbook. It's in actually doing it. It is in practical application. That's where it's at, so to speak, when we talk about spirituality. It is our actual day-to-day, moment-to-moment practice of these ideas that proves to us that they are true, not reading it in a book. That's important, yes, but the real action lies in our doing it. It is then that our experience shows us, proves to us that these ideas are true. In effect, we prove it to ourselves. So if you want proof, look no further than yourself. You will prove it to yourself. I won't prove anything to you. This is not an argument. It's not a debate. How can I say that with 100% certainty? We're not separate. We're not opponents. We're not sitting across the table from one another. Remember, there is no separation of any kind. There is no separate other out there. Just us. One. So when we talk about the Holy Spirit's plan for forgiveness, there's so much to discuss in just the first paragraph alone that is all we're going to look at today. As with Every paragraph of A Course in Miracles, what we're about to discuss, contains the entirety of the thought system of the Course. It is what we call holographic. Every single component part reflects totally and completely the whole. Every paragraph, every sentence contains the entire thought system. So, yes, if you're wondering, you could literally pick up the book, randomly open it to any page, read any sentence, and understand the totality of the thought system. So we're told right off here that atonement is for all. Of course it is. There is no separation of any kind, and there never has been. Our accepting what the Course refers to as atonement for ourselves has us acknowledge, central to our acceptance of atonement for ourselves, is our acknowledgement that the separation never occurred. We accept this and acknowledge that there is no separation of any kind. We're not separate from God. We're not separate from our brother. There is only perfect oneness. And in accepting atonement, we're accepting the correction of the Holy Spirit, our inner teacher. So when in these videos I refer to our inner teacher, I'm referring to the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit goes by many names. And in fact, you could call your inner teacher whatever you like. It really doesn't matter, because our inner teacher is a part of our mind, the part that speaks truly, that shows us what to do, that helps us and gives us guidance and support along the path, if we let him. So you could call your inner teacher whatever you want. In fact, you could call your inner teacher by more than one name and refer to it as your guides if you want to. In fact, one of the many names that the Holy Spirit goes by in A Course in Miracles is the voice for God. It's the part of our mind that speaks truly, that will show us what to do if we allow it. So in accepting atonement, it's for all of us, because it undoes the belief that we're alone, individuals. We're not individuals. Why? The separation never occurred. We need to repeat that over and over and over again until we get it. Because the ego resists that one. It sees us and wants us to continue to see us as separate, in competition with one another for what we deem to be scarce and limited resources. Yeah, all of that. It wants you to see your brother as out to get you, so that you define and defend personal territory and preemptively strike if necessary, because he's coming for you, for your car, for your money. Yeah, for your status and prestige. Illusory concepts, aren't they, in the world? We're invited to see ourselves as what we really are, one with each other, one with God, rather than separate individuals. And that's what we're invited to see. So when we forgive, because we're talking about our identity with a capital I and the Holy Spirit's plan for forgiveness, we're overlooking what appears on the surface. This is not me. Now, I appear to feel this finger, this thing that we call a finger, tapping this thing that we call a cheek, and it produces a sensation that here in the world we take as real. It's not real. You are not a body. Again, you are not a body. You're not a physical body. Neither is your hot, sexy lover a physical body. Your kids, if you have kids, are not physical bodies. Your ex is not a physical body. Your worst political enemies are not physical bodies. Historical dictators are not physical bodies. None of us is a physical body. When we forgive our brother, the Son of God, what we're doing is we're overlooking. We're looking beyond the surface of things. We're looking beyond what appears on the surface to the essence of what we really are. We're choosing to see our brother's holiness instead of his limitations. We're choosing to see him as he is, the Son of God, rather than what the body's eyes show us, a separate human being, complete with every flaw that we care to notice, because we're always quick to point all that out, aren't we? So we overlook, we look beyond. We look beyond the form to the content. Now, what is the Son of God? Well, in many spiritual and religious traditions, the Son of God is a term that's used to refer to Jesus, the historical Jesus. So let's broaden that and be very clear that each and every one of us is the Son of God, singular. This is not limited in any way. Why? Because the Son of God is not limited in any way. A very helpful idea and an often quoted idea from this course is the idea that ideas leave not their source. This one is one that I invite you to repeat and contemplate and put into practice so that it sticks in your mind at all times. It's very helpful. Ideas leave not their source. Thoughts remain in the mind of the thinker. You are the thought of God. We're known as the thought of God here in A Course in Miracles. We're also known in this course as the extension of God. Love extends itself. God extends himself. The Son of God is the extension of God. Like extends like. Exactly like. Who, what, and where are you in truth? Mm. Yes. So when we forgive our brother, we're looking beyond the mere surface appearance, a haggard human body with limited shelf life, or it may be a really hot, physically strong, attractive human body, again, with a limited shelf life. We look beyond this to the truth of who we really are. This is what's going on in forgiveness. So we're invited to see our brother's holiness, to see him as the Son of God that he is, rather than some miserable dude or lady who is just flopping and flailing about in life, causing problems everywhere they go. We're invited to see things as they really are. So when you begin to really allow yourself to contemplate this and to put this into practice, it's very, very, very powerful. So I invite you to tap into this power. It's your power. It doesn't belong exclusively to any one of us. There are no exclusive individuals. Let's, moment by moment, piece by piece, as needed, set aside the idea of exclusivity for all time. There is only perfect oneness. Incidentally, when we choose, because it's our choice, to see our brother as a body, to see him or her as an individual self-sustaining survival unit, making mistakes constantly, looking like an idiot sometimes, looking absolutely brilliant sometimes. When we see our brother as a body, we are not able to see ourselves truly. Why? Our brother is us. He's not related to us. He's not like us or similar to us. He is us. So as you see your brother, you see yourself. Ooh, I know. See him as the holy and perfectly healed Son of God that he is, so too will you see yourself. See him as a complete screw-up and an idiot, so too you see yourself. And you're welcome to insert any colorful language you like in there, because we think it all of the time. We see people behaving badly. We see them acting in ways that we know are unhelpful, and they're unhelpful to them, but people are doing it. All you have to do is scroll your social media feed to see people spouting belligerence and hate. It happens. They have a platform to do it, so they do it. No surprise there. What you can't control is what they spout out. However, you have every control over how you respond to that. You could use it for what it actually is, an opportunity to forgive. The other person doesn't ever have to know you did it. Doesn't matter if they ever do, because, I mean, they could continue to spout the same hatred for the rest of their lives. And some people will. But it does not have to drag you down. As you see your brother, so you see yourself. So we're invited to see our brother's holiness and therefore see our own, because until we do, we cannot perceive our own holiness until we understand experientially through our forgiveness the idea of perfect oneness. Because we all know clearly that we're not taught perfect oneness in school. We're not taught perfect oneness in our high school biology classrooms. So as we see our brother, so we see ourselves. That idea in and of itself is powerful, and it's true. And it's really not very difficult to wrap your head around. What seems to be more difficult for us to wrap our head around is the idea that there is no separation of any kind at all. None. No separation, and your brother is you. And we're one with God. This is the truth. It's actually quite simple. We make it hard. We do. We're the ones that introduce all of the complications. Denial. We deny our identity with a capital I. We deny our reality when we see ourselves as separate from our brother and run off and judge, which of course we're welcome to do. We have the choice in the present moment to extend love or to withhold love. And we all know the path that leads out of suffering. So we're invited to come back to these ideas over and over again until forgiving the Son of God, extending love to the Son of God, becomes a habit deeply ingrained in your mind and automatic. This is a course in mind training. If you're wishing for something else, okay. Ultimately, all of spirituality is mind training. It all aims, in the end, whether it states so or not, for us to set aside the ego. It just so happens that some traditions don't mention this at all, and some mention it explicitly and repeatedly. You are here, so welcome. Our identity, capital I, is shared. It's shared, and so our sharing it, extending love, is its reality. It's shared. You are not separate. There is no separation of any kind. So, a few minutes ago, we said that this phrase, there is no separation of any kind, would appear again and again, so be it. It's worth, as we wrap up here, a couple of words about repetition on the spiritual path, because if you've gone through the text or the workbook here in A Course in Miracles, you will probably have hit a point. If you haven't, you will, where it seems like Jesus is saying the same thing over and 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 over. Yes. Well, he is. He's using different words in what appear to be different contexts. The context is exactly the same. Truth is true. So the underlying context of all of these videos, every sentence of this course, is the same. We need repetition because we are stubborn adult learners. Let's all be deeply honest with ourselves. If we were not stubborn, we would not appear to be here. This conversation would not appear to be taking place. We wouldn't need it. We would be at home, so to speak. We'd be awake in God. We wouldn't see ourselves as 8 billion individual self-sustaining survival units running amok on a spinning ball of rock in this thing called a solar system, this thing called a galaxy, and this thing called a universe. We would simply be awake in God without the need for any concepts like space, time, our own names, even. There's no separation of any kind. We're waking up to this. And our identity is most definitely shared. When you experience resistance, not if, but when, understand that it is the ego that's resistant. Paramount here in your day-to-day practice of A Course in Miracles is your relationship with your inner teacher. You are free to and encouraged to call on your inner teacher for help at all times when you're stressed and when you feel great. When you're up, when you're down. Call on your inner teacher for help. He will show you what to do. He will place the forgiveness language and thoughts and feelings in your mind. You extend them. All right. So if you are just joining us for the first time, and have not subscribed yet, I would love to have you do that. This is the subscription button, so please feel welcome to click on that and join us here. What you're going to get, besides the repetition, which is necessary, is 100% necessary. So besides that, what you get are several videos every week dedicated to the study and practice of A Course in Miracles. In other words, dedicated to awakening. So if that is something that you deep down want and desire, and you feel deep down that you're ready for, I'd love to have you join us. Along the way, questions are not only inevitable, but they're also welcome, highly welcome here. We've had a number of really excellent discussions right here in the comment thread here on YouTube. So if you've got questions, I invite you to leave them. Comments are welcome, everything. So I thank you very much for joining me, and I will speak to you all very soon.